Welcome back, I'm Sage and you're watching 𝐾𝐿 TV live from Sydney. This is the Mid-Market Pulse. Let's get started with the mid-market commentary for today and see how ASX 200 traded by lunchtime. ASX falls as inflation fears spooks tech stocks. Afterpay hits 7-month lows. The benchmark index ASX 200 continues to trade in negative terrain on Thursday, extending losses for the third straight session as persistent concerns over potential spikes in US inflation kept investors jittery. The S&P ASX 200 is trading down by 26.6 points or 0.38% at 7,018, crossing below its 20-day moving average. The market witnessed sharp sell-offs in technology spaces, tracking Nasdaq's descent on Wall Street as investors dumped high growth stocks following US inflation data, which raised concerns over interest rate hikes. And now moving on to the sectoral front, 8 out of 11 sectors remain under selling pressure while information technology bleeds over 4%. Other sectors that are trading lower includes A-Right, financials, energy, telecommunication services, materials, consumer discretionary and industrials, while healthcare is the best performing sector, gaining 0.91%, followed by utilities and consumer staples. Buy now, pay later space also witnessed selling pressure. The share price of buy now, pay later giant Afterpay Limited declined as much as 7.5% to $81.85 Australian, its lowest levels since 6th October 2020, as US inflation fears weighed on growth stocks. Other buy now, pay later players, 𝐷𝐞 Limited and 𝐶𝐶𝐳 Inc. 𝐻UM Group Limited also remained under stress. And meanwhile, the Australian energy companies Santos, Woodside Petroleum and Beach Energy were trading higher, tracking rises in crude oil prices. And crude oil prices surged to 8-week highs on Wednesday amid signs of robust economic recovery and tumbled US crude exports. Well, let's take a look now at the gainers and the losers. The worst performing stocks on the ASX are Perenti Global Limited, Xero Limited, Afterpay, NRW Holdings Limited and News Corporation. And some of the best performing stocks are GrainCorp Limited, Whitehaven Coal Limited, AusNet Services Limited, Treasury Wine Estates Limited and Elders Limited. And now, let's look at the shares in the news. Shares of Australasian Gold will be in focus as the gold mining company will make ASX debut today after raising 5.5 million Australian dollars via an initial public offering or IPO. The gold exploration company has issued 27,564,940 shares at an offer price of 20 cents per share. The share price of Red Cape Hotel Group Management jumped over 4% to $1.02 Australian after the company raised its earning guidance for financial year 21. Shares of Perenti Global Limited slumped almost 20% to 78 cents Australian, marking it as its worst performing day since March 23, 2020. As per the company, the second half of 2021 earnings are expected to be softer than the first half because of negative impacts in the labour market caused by COVID-19 disruptions. And Brookside Energy Limited shares were trading 3.85% to 0.025 Australian dollars after its company started trading on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. As per the company, the dual listing will support its strategy to broaden its overseas investor base at a time when global oil prices are rebounding. The company also stated that it has reached a critical milestone with the starting of drilling of the high-impact Jewel well in the Swish AOI in the Anadarko Basin, Oklahoma, USA. The share price of Aventus Group was down 1.4% at $2.88 Australian after the company on Wednesday said it will sell McGregor Home, Queensland, for 42.15 million Australian dollars to Sterling Property. In a separate development, Jefferies has raised its price target on the stock to $3.20 Australian, up from $3.07 Australian, and maintained the rating on the company. The agency expects upsides in AVN with strong underlying fundamentals and financial year 21 guidance, implying a 5.9% distribution per security yield and 15.3 times price to funds from operations multiple. CSR Limited share price traded 0.5% lower at $6.13 Australian after the company released financial results. The company has reported full-year net profit after tax, or NPAT, of 146.1 million Australian dollars, an increase of 17%, and the robust result reflects improved performance in building products and increased property contribution, the company said. QX Resources Limited announced firm commitments received from sophisticated and institutional investors to subscribe for a placement of 70 million shares at 0.015 Australian dollars each, amounting to 1.05 million Australian dollars before costs or placement. And the company also announced a share purchase plan to raise up to 2 million Australian dollars, in which by Australasian Capital Pty Limited will partially underwrite 600,000 Australian dollars. Combined proceeds are expected to accelerate exploration activities, QXR's Queensland-based prospective gold projects. QX Resources Limited shares were last spotted at 0.017 Australian dollars. TechGen Metals has received composite assay results from its RC drilling program completed in April in Eldona Gold Project. TechGen Metals shares last traded at 25 cents Australian. Tassal Group Limited has acquired 800 hectares mid-farm adjacent to its northern Queensland-based Proserpine Prawn Farm and Billy Creek property. The acquisition is expected to assimilate its farm holdings, now called as Proserpine Farming Precinct, boosting future prawn production. And following the announcement, Tassal Group's shares were trading 0.14% lower at 3.655 Australian dollars. And now, after looking at the Australian market, let's zoom our lenses on the global market updates. On the global front, Asian markets continued losing streak for the third straight session on Thursday, as concerns about rising inflation and higher bond yields baffled investors. The Japanese Nikkei 225 was the worst performer in the Asia-Pacific region, falling 1.9%. It was followed by Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index, which was down 1.07%. New Zealand's benchmark S&P/NZX 50 trades lower by 0.8%, while China's Shanghai Composite trades down by 0.6%. Among others, Taiwan's Taiwan-weighted index is down 0.1%, while Thailand's SET index trades 0.45% lower. The Korean Kospi also falls by 0.43%. Moving on to the commodity update. In commodity markets, oil prices slipped during the mid-morning trade in Asia today, with Brent crude trading 0.3% lower at $68.98 US a barrel, and US West Texas Intermediate WTI price down by 0.51% to $65.74 US a barrel. On Wednesday, crude oil prices closed higher amid hopes that recovery in the economy will boost demand. The WTI crude surged by 1.2% to US $66.08 a barrel, the highest close since 11th of March, while Brent crude gained 1.1% to US $69.32 per barrel, a close last seen on 5th March. Meanwhile, the spot gold index was up by 0.18% to $1,818.74 US an ounce, pairing early losses. In the overnight trade, gold prices dropped after US inflation data revealed a quicker than expected recovery. Reacting to the news, gold miners such as Northern Star Resources Limited and Evolution Mining Limited were trading in the red, while Northern Star Resources Limited remained in positive terrain. And now let's look at this latest news coming in with women's affairs coming into the spotlight after the release of the federal budget. Queensland's state government has also allocated a further $30 million towards prevention and support programs for those affected by domestic and sexual violence in the state. With a heartfelt social media post made by Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk stating that she is intending to invest more to support the victims of domestic, family and sexual violence, stating the state won't stop until the violence stops. The announcement comes after moves to implement a domestic violence register that discloses if a person has had a violence order registered against them. With further moves towards women's safety measures being proposed for discussion in July 2021 at the National Women's Safety Summit, Queensland's Minister for the Prevention of Domestic and Family Violence, Shannon Fentiman, who is also Queensland's Attorney General, says increased demand after recent tragic events of the nature proves that more needs to be done. With submissions currently open to the community to come forward to share their experiences with this type of violent crime, a Women's Safety and Justice Task Force is also being created to investigate how best legislation can be implemented to prevent this activity from occurring. This is aligned with the Australian federal government's move to broaden a migration law preventing any person convicted of domestic violence anywhere in the world from gaining visa entry into the country. The law was implemented in 2019 and sends a strong message to violent perpetrators of the kind. All right then, that's all for now. Stay tuned with 𝐾ALKIND TV for more live market updates, and we will be back with more news on markets, economies and diverse themes and sectors. Sage signing off for now.